rise to the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilmember Irby?
Here.
Councilmember Page?
Here.
Councilmember Wassinger? Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Here.
Councilmember Tracus?
Present.
Councilmember Harder?
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
I move for approval of the journal of the meeting of November 13th, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The journal is approved.
I move for approval of the journal of the meeting of November 16th, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move for approval of the journal of the meeting of November 20th, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have no bid openings, so we'll move to communications.
Mr. Chair, there are no tax compromises this evening, so we'll move to zoning matters. Under zoning matters, item number 1, 4th District.
Receive and file.
So ordered.
Item number 2, 6th District.
See file and county councilor's office be instructed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
We have nothing under road and bridge matters this evening, Mr. Chair, so I'll move to other communications. Under other communications, item number 1.
Receive and file, same motion for item number 2, and that will be the order.
Item number 3.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 4, 1st District.
Receive, file, contract in an amount not to exceed $3,216,693.06. Be approved and awarded to Pace Construction Company, the lowest responsive bidder as recommended, and authorization for revision to the existing traffic control devices be approved as requested.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 5, 3rd District.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
Second.
So ordered.
Item number 6, 7th District.
Receive, file, contract in an amount not to exceed $1,569,179.79. Be approved and awarded to Gerston's Construction Company, the lowest responsive bidder, as recommended, and authorization for revision to the existing traffic control devices be approved as requested.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 7, 7th District.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
No add-ons this evening, Mr. Chair?
Report of the county executive, no report. Report of special committees,
Please hold on the order of business.
so ordered. Public forum.
We have 10 speakers this evening, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so this evening we have 10 speakers. When your name's called, please approach the podium, adjust the microphone so we can record your comments. Give your name and address for the record, and please try and keep your comments to 3 minutes.
First speaker this evening is Donna Boger.
Hi, my name is Donna Boger. I work in the Sheriff's Department. I would like to share with you the many duties that we perform. The bailiffs provide security for the courtroom, the public, and the judges. Their job is to maintain peace in the courtroom when there are many angry, hostile, and vocal litigants. The civil process deputies serve the court documents, just like the mailman. They're out there during rain, snow, sleet, and hail. The peace officers pick up alleged incompetent people and transport them to the probate court or court-appointed hospitals along with serving legal papers. Execution deputies carry out court orders to evict tenants, take cash out of registers that businesses owes to debtors, seize vehicles and other valuables. People are not usually happy to see them. The office staff process the court documents that come to the office. They're responsible for getting the document into the e-file system correctly, routing it to the area to be served, assigning it to the correct deputy, putting the return or the results of the documents into the system. There are several divisions in our office that are assigned to certain documents, such as family court papers, garnishments, orders of protection, summonses, landlord, tenant, etc. There are hundreds more documents that come in from other counties that are to be served in the St. Louis County. The Sheriff's Office plays an important role in the justice system. If the county wants to continue to hire dedicated, hardworking people, then the employees are deserving of a pay raise. There are people in the office that work 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. I personally have been with the department for 18 years. When I was hired, I considered it a new career. We were given merit increases along with our evaluations, which enriched our pensions. Within the next 10 years, we only received 2 or 3 cost of living raises that were 3%. I also have taken on more and more responsibilities. All the other employees' workload has grown too. We have positions that are not being filled, but still have the work that goes with those positions. Now that I am closer to reaching retirement, I realize I will have to work past my eligible retirement date. I will not be able to earn enough for medical insurance, let alone living expenses. We have good benefits, but most major companies do too. We are losing good, long-term employees to better jobs, retirement, or they're just resigning because they aren't getting the pay they deserve. The Sheriff Department is appealing to the County Council to use the funds from Proposition P to make sure the employees that work here are compensated for their hard work.
Next speaker is Marshall Day.
My name is Marshall Day. My address is 3418 McMullen School Road, 63020. I would personally like to thank each of you for your time. Having the opportunity to engage with you regarding matters important to the employee of the court is what I would call a privilege. For the last 18 years...
Marshall, hold
Yes.
on a second. I appreciate your support, show of support, but we're not going to be able to pick up his remarks if the room isn't quiet. So please try and keep your side conversations down. Thank you. Why don't you start from the beginning?
Okay. I'll just actually have a good segue here. For the last 18 years, I've been a county-funded employee of the Circuit Court. On or about August 10th, each of you received a letter from the Honorable Judge Beach requesting an increase for our employees from Prop P funds. As you are aware, the courts are the only public safety department not to receive an increase from these funds. Since that time, we have submitted the same request as part of our budget as an initiative to the county executive. You were not afforded the opportunity to see that initiative. There are several employees here today that wish to speak to you regarding the impact the raise increment will have on them individually and their departments. In the last 18-plus years, I have personally witnessed the amount of employees exiting the court for financial reasons grow to the current unmanageable level. We now have little hope to retain qualified employees after only brief periods of employment. I have also witnessed the volume of our professional staff now taking part-time employment in order to make ends meet. This practice reduces their ability to rest and recover from their difficult jobs and reduces, if not eliminates, the time they spend with their family and loved ones. The request that we made previously via the Judge Beach letter will affect 350 court employees, 222 from the family court, which includes juvenile correction officers, juvenile probation officers, prosecutors, and many other support staff. There's also another 100 employees employed by the Sheriff's Department, and there are an additional 28 employees employed by the rest of the court. For my part, I'm only asking that the council add the initiative that we previously gave to the county executive. The financial details were outlined in the Judge Beach letter. Thank you.
Thanks, Marshall.
Next speaker is Cheryl Campbell.
My name is Cheryl Campbell, and I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today on behalf of the hardworking men and women that work for the court. For the past 40 years, I've worked for the family court. I saw it when it was a juvenile court, and now it's a family court, and we're trying to do good things for kids and good things for families in St. Louis County. When most individuals are off work, I'm talking about my detention staff, they're there. So when it's snowing outside, when it's whatever, sleeting or whatever, they're out there making sure they try to get in and make sure the kids are protected. Because part of the mandate for the juvenile detention facility is to approximate the care of kids in good homes. So that's what we're going to do. I've seen in the past 3 years a drastic, it seems like I'm always in the search for trying to hire new people because they're just not making enough. Most of my employees have secondary jobs. They need to leave my job and go to the next job, or they need to come in, go home, get some sleep, and come in and work that night shift. So this has been a revolving thing for probably the past 5 years that I've noticed. But what has really hit me hard is the fact that trying to get qualified people, and then you have the minimum wage just went up. Okay, so people can go work at Amazon for $15 an hour, and my staff have to have a college degree, and it's like, I'm just asking you to kind of consider what's going on, and please look at what we're trying to do. Look at what we're trying to do and the support that we need, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you this evening about what we need from you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Scott Kiefer.
Hello, my name is Scott Kiefer. I work for the St. Louis County Sheriff's Office. I'd like to take a moment and thank all the council members for their time today. I've come to speak to the council about salary increases for the Department of Judicial Administration utilizing Proposition P funds. Over the last 2 years, the Sheriff's Office has turned over 33% of our positions, many of which took higher paying jobs elsewhere. The Sheriff's Office is having extreme difficulty hiring qualified applicants, and with the implementation of Proposition P raises throughout the rest of St. Louis County, this has only contributed to the increased difficulty of fulfilling vacant positions. In most cases, the Sheriff's Office competes directly with other law enforcement agencies for recruitment of qualified candidates. For instance, a court peace officer makes $32,400 a year. This position requires a current post certification and is charged with taking alleged mentally incompetent individuals into custody, transporting them to hospitals per court order. Whereas the minimum salary for a St. Louis County police officer is now $52,208 a year, almost $20,000 a year difference. The bailiff position in the Sheriff's Office is charged with maintaining peace, order, and security in the courtroom, makes $26,600 a year, barely higher than the federal poverty line of $25,100 for a family of 4. The minimum starting salary for a police security officer who staff the security checkpoints at our government buildings now start out at $36,100 a year. Deputy sheriffs, depending on their duties, make $30,100 or $33,200 a year. Compared to St. Charles County Sheriff's offices, they start out their deputy sheriffs and bailiffs at $44,700 a year. Office staff positions start out at approximately $26,700 a year. These positions often require accounting experience, and surrounding counties or municipalities have similar positions that start between $4,000 to $6,000 more a year. Due to the low salary and lack of raises, multiple Sheriff's Office employees, many with families, have communicated to me that they are forced to work additional part-time jobs just to make ends meet. Not only does this take away valuable time with their families, but ultimately decreases their productivity and creativity when fulfilling the mission of public service for St. Louis County government. Without salary increases, I fear that more employees will continue to leave for higher paying positions and vacant positions will remain unfilled. In order to continue exceptional services to the people of St. Louis County and for the employees of the Department of Judicial Administration, we ask the council to add this initiative to the 2019 budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Brian Vickers.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
I understand that this has been a long day, so I will take this time to thank the council for the opportunity to speak tonight in regard to the proposed pay increase for court personnel and go on with my remarks. For 30-plus years, I have been employed by St. Louis County Family Court as a deputy juvenile officer. The first 5 years, I worked in the detention center, and the last 25 as a field DJO in the delinquency department. The purpose of my remarks tonight is to convey the importance of the pay increase as proposed and why I believe it should be approved. I would be remiss if I failed to mention that in my years of service, I've worked with and now supervised an outstanding group of people who consistently demonstrate their commitment to this profession by providing services to families who, for various reasons and typically not under great circumstance, come into the juvenile justice system. I believe that the proposed pay increase submitted on our behalf is essential to the court's ability to retain the skilled workforce currently employed and to attract the same level of professional going forward. In recent years, our delinquency department has had a remarkably high turnover rate. And my belief is that this is associated with the fact that there have been no merit increases in recent years, coupled with former employees finding better compensation elsewhere. I've watched skilled juvenile officers, including relatively new hires and seasoned veterans who possess valuable institutional memory and knowledge, leave this field despite having a desire to continue in this line of work. They left because it was difficult to support a family without supplementing their income with part-time employment. I know this is true by my own experience. I worked a part-time job for many years. The reasons why employees leave may vary, but compensation has been identified as a main contributing factor. Retaining employees who are presented with opportunities for better compensation is difficult. It's extremely difficult in an environment where merit raises are not available. I believe that the large number of veteran employees that have continued their employment with the court for years demonstrates their commitment to this profession and the work done daily to serve our clients, aside from any concerns about compensation. The compensation rate is as important a factor to potential employees as it is to those currently employed. So I believe that it is the expectation of St. Louis County government and the communities we serve that the family court continue to provide a high level of services, be innovative in the field of juvenile justice, and continue to be a responsible partner as it concerns public safety. Our DJOs are in the community, client homes, and work with youth who have committed felony, misdemeanor, and status offenses. We are committed to public safety. The court must be able to offer compensation to current and potential employees that is commensurate with those expectations. Let me respectfully end by requesting that the council approve the request for pay increases for court employees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Robert Pruitt.
Good evening. My name is Bob Pruitt, and I am a deputy sheriff in St. Louis County, and I'm currently assigned to the execution division, which means I do evictions, levy vehicles, seize property to meet court order requirements. I believe Prop P funding is part of the public safety. I believe that we are all public safety officers, either in the eviction department or the execution department or the court bailiffs. We all perform a public safety duty. My job is as dangerous as a policeman's job. I go to homes where people don't want to leave. We have incidents where we are required or in necessity to call police officers to assist us to execute the eviction or levy the property that we seize. So I think we earn our money. I think we have great employees who do a great job and are not compensated for the effort that they put in every day. My partner has been here for 10 years or 15 years and hasn't had a pay raise other than the 2% that were mentioned before. And he still comes in every day and does a great job for the citizens of St. Louis County. So I would certainly hope and encourage everybody to be supportive of the increases that these people deserve, because they earn it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Beth Wasserstrom.
Good evening. First, I want to start by thanking everybody in the room for all the service you give to the county. I'm really touched by all of it. I'm Beth Wasserstrom, and I live in Olivet. Tonight, I'm here on behalf of the volunteers and the animals of the St. Louis County Shelter. I first started there because I was looking for a place that I could volunteer with my 3 teens who are students in the Ladue School District. In addition to working in healthcare, I volunteer at the shelter nearly every single day, over 20 hours a week. And like many volunteers here tonight, I also put in about 10 hours a week at home. In the summer, my family alone can provide upwards of 40 hours per week of animal care. I cannot even begin to scratch the surface of what needs to be said in 3 minutes, but I'm going to try. After a few horrible opening months in 2018, the interim directorship was dropped in the lap of Lee Jackson, operations manager. He did a great job with very limited tools he was provided, and our euthanasia rate was low, and everyone was working hard. Lee has many, many years of experience at the shelter and knows that improvement must be made by addressing the most basic needs of the animals. He is not a man of many words, but the words he says are always, "Thank you, we couldn't do this without you guys." We appreciate his several months of service before being returned to operations manager. When the story broke in the media that 2 dogs died in a parvovirus outbreak in the winter, we had 12 staff vacancies, no veterinarians on site, and only 1 vet tech. The volunteers rolled up their sleeves with staff and took care of over 40 lethargic dogs who were vomiting and often had explosive diarrhea. 8 months later, we are still providing massive amounts of basic animal care, and we are still not fully staffed, and we still have over 300 animals in the shelter with a very high burden of care. Our volunteers are currently providing just at 1,600 hours a month of walking, kennel cleaning, adoption assistance, and shelter care. They continue to spend thousands of dollars on medical care, toys, and basic supplies. As a matter of fact, with our current staff shortage, we are just about outpacing the hours provided by actual kennel staff. The staff needs help. We need help. It's embarrassing in this area to have a county entity that depends on teenagers showing up to volunteer. Without them, we couldn't begin to get our dogs walked during the summer. We recently had a change in interim leadership. It's a hard job, and I'm sure everyone is trying their best. But the price of putting an inexperienced person in the interim director position was 100 animals in the past months. They're all dead. Despite these 4 pages of all the stuff that the volunteers did in 2018, the animals are still dead. It's time to give us some staff, to get us some permanent, experienced leadership, and to give the volunteers a voice in this process. Thank you.
Yes, hold on a second.
Beth,
Beth, hold on.
Lee Jackson was returned to his position?
As
previous
operations manager, yes. And
So who is the director now?
Katrina Utz.
Katrina?
Utz.
And she just started?
You'll have to discuss all that.
And so the 100 animals, you had 100 animals that died?
We ran out of space. We did not, our vet was terminated. I arranged for a board member who generously offered to pay for all the surgeries of our animals while we spent 12 weeks searching for a new vet, which is what it takes to employ one. She generously offered to bankroll all the surgeries, and that was not taken, and we ran out of space, and we had to euthanize a lot of animals.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Brian Seltzer.
How far she's on this?
Good evening. My name is Brian Seltzer. I am one of 9 full-time attorneys employed by St. Louis County representing the juvenile officer of St. Louis County. The work we do is critical to the safety and welfare of the youth in our community. We handle the county's cases of juvenile delinquency and child abuse and neglect, and the volume of work that we handle keeps the 9 of us very, very busy. We are on duty 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. I feel that it's important for you to get a snapshot picture of what we do during these times and why it is so vital that we have the resources to keep the most skilled and dedicated people on to accomplish our missions. On the delinquency side, we act very similarly to the prosecutor's office, but our perpetrators all committed their offenses while they were under the age of 17. Unfortunately, many of these youths in our community are committing extremely serious crimes, using guns, and the victims of these crimes are just as traumatized as all crime victims, and the age of the perpetrators really does not matter to them. Tonight, I want to use my limited time to emphasize our work on our child abuse and neglect cases handled by our Child Protective Services, or CPS unit. We receive emergency referrals at all hours, weekdays and weekends, to take protective custody of children in dire straits. We must act immediately to authorize that protective custody to keep a child safe and placed in emergency state care with the Children's Division. Our referrals come from the police, hospitals, schools, children's divisions, and other resources. The kids I'm talking about range in age from 1 day to 17 years. We have many newborn cases. Unfortunately, we have many newborns exposed to drugs such as meth, heroin, cocaine, and fentanyl. We have physical abuse cases ranging from bruises and belt marks to broken bones and extremely serious life-altering injuries. And we, unfortunately, recently have had several cases of trying to protect siblings of children who were killed in extremely abusive or neglectful situations. We have sexual abuse referrals of kids of all ages, with the perpetrators usually being family members or acquaintances. And we have kids living in horrible conditions who cannot safely remain in those conditions. These are the types of cases we handle every day. Our mission is to keep these vulnerable young people safe and alive until they can either be safely returned to their parents or other permanent arrangements can be made. The employees who perform this work are dedicated professionals working to keep these kids safe and giving them a chance to succeed in life. Anything you can do to give us the necessary means and resources to continue to fulfill this mission would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Michael Burton.
Hey y'all, Michael Burton here. Good to see y'all. Thank you all for being here. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. Got to spend some time with the family. I'm here to speak about Tower T, just so y'all know. Now, I understand at this time, at a time like this, while you're working on your budget, that property taxes from 158 houses would be nice in the future. I get that. And lots of these funds would go to be used to do good things for the residents of St. Louis County. But it's still a terrible trade. It's a terrible trade-off. No amount of tax revenue would make it worth getting rid of a space where Tower T was, a place like Tower T. And that's putting aside all of our traffic concerns, water runoff concerns, blasting, and everything else that we've spoken to you about. Don't forget, folks, grass is a living thing. It grows back. This guy right here is Jim Siegfried. I was working on putting the Soldiers Memorial downtown together for a while, and I didn't know him, but I was working with him. We started talking about Tower T, and I found out that he's the artist of Tower T. He's the one that has built a lot of the things at the putting, mini golf, and things like that. And he is super excited that there's a chance and a possibility of keeping Tower T a green space, and would be more than willing to come back and help out with it. This guy right here. Steve Loach, the owner of Tower T, calls him a great guy. So, really excited that I got to run into him. Councilman Dolan, I know you worked very hard and closely with Steve Loach to put on the concert for the community of Afton. So thank you for that. I appreciate it, truly. Especially now, we know you guys can do it if it were turned into a county park, which, if you had a concert series, would bring in more revenue to St. Louis County. Now, please do not let the possible purchase of the land by St. Louis County affect your vote to rezone the property. Two very different things. We have shared our concerns and will continue to share our concerns. We just want it to be a possibility and something we can continue to work on. By the way, I believe after the soil samples are taken and studied at the space where Tower T was, the price of the property will come down. We need to let McBride know, not this time. Once it's gone, it's gone. And I want you all to ask yourself one question. Do you think the majority of St. Louis County residents, if they were to put houses in there, if they were to keep it Tower T, something very close to it, would they say, oh, dang it, what a shame. What a shame they wouldn't put all those houses in there? Or do you think the majority of St. Louis County would say, wow, how awesome is it that St. Louis County was able to keep Tower T a green space? Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Final speaker this evening is Tom Sullivan.
Mr. Chairman, I have some comments on a few matters. Council recently appointed people to the St. Louis County Port Authority. I think you've gone too far with this and will be on thin ice in any lawsuit. Appointments to the Port Authority would seem to come under the purview of the county executive. Also, with the last two appointments to the Port Authority that were rushed through, after the first two that were rushed through, there was no opportunity for the public to comment. At the committee meeting, no comments were accepted, and then the appointments were confirmed before the public comment section of the council meeting. So much for open government. It shouldn't be too surprising that St. Louis County is in a financial squeeze. This is a result of bad decision on top of bad decision for many years. There was the approval of the terrible leases for the old Northwest Plaza that could cost $30 million more than they should have. You were told there were many problems with the leases, but you went ahead anyway. Then there was Proposition P, another fiasco. You were told it was badly drafted, which it was, but you went ahead anyway. At the committee meeting for the proposal, you were also told that pay scales in county government were, quote, out of whack, but you did nothing. After the tax was approved, the council should never have gone along with the county executive's pay recommendations, but you were too afraid not to. Some got nearly 40% raises and some got nothing. It's hardly surprising that people are upset. The county's financial problems have been mounting for years. In 2004, the University of Missouri St. Louis came out with a report about the, quote, wage drain in St. Louis County. Not only did it say the county lost $2.6 billion in wages during the 10-year period due to people leaving the county, it said the wage drain continues unabated. Many families have been leaving the county for the same reasons so many left the city: deteriorating neighborhoods, crime, and poor schools. They took their purchasing power with them along with the tax revenue they generated. It helps to explain why so many shopping centers and malls have closed in St. Louis County: River Roads, Northland, Northwest Plaza, Crestwood Plaza, and Jamestown Mall. St. Louis Outlet Mall was built for $250 million 15 years ago, but was sold for $4.4 million in 2016. At the same time, the county is paying $180 million for the downtown dome, $110 million for the Cardinal Stadium, and millions of dollars for soccer fields. The owners of the St. Louis Cardinals essentially paid $50 million for a team now valued at $1.9 billion. Yet the county pays millions of dollars every year for their baseball stadium. The council has also approved many millions of dollars for various initiatives for the Convention and Visitors Commission. The only result was a lot of tax dollars being wasted. St. Louis County government's financial situation is a classic case of we have met the problem and the problem is us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Tom.
No more speakers, Mr. Chair.
Before we move forward, yes? Nope.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to say to all the employees who came, you know, so many times you come and we don't make comments or anything, but I just want you to know that your concerns did not fall on deaf ears, that we hear you, and that we are trying to work out something. The budget is a mess, and we're working hard on it every day. So you didn't come for nothing. I'm happy that you came. Thank you.
That concludes the public forum. Please proceed with introduction of bills.
Bill number 295, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the general fund for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the general fund the sum of $318,669,008 to be placed to the credit of the respective departments, offices, boards, commissions, agencies, and funds of the St. Louis County government as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 296, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the Special Road and Bridge Fund for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Special Road and Bridge Fund the sum of $56,355,733 to be placed to the credit of the Department of Transportation as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 297, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the Health Fund for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Health Fund the sum of $57,691,539 to be placed to the credit of the Department of Public Health as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 298, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the Park Maintenance Fund for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Park Maintenance Fund the sum of $36,614,518 to be placed to the credit of the Department of Parks and Recreation as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 299, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the St. Louis County and Municipal Police Academy Fund budget for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart the sum of $744,069 from the unappropriated balance of the St. Louis County and Municipal Police Academy Fund to be credited to the accounts as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 300, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the assessment fund budget for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the assessment fund the sum of $14,451,896 to be placed to the credit of the accounts as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 301, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the sewer lateral fund budget for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the sewer lateral fund the sum of $3,600,660 to be placed to the credit of the accounts as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 302, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the Lambert East Perimeter TIF Fund budget for fiscal year 2019 and appropriating and setting apart the sum of $3,507,878 from the unappropriated balance of the Lambert East Perimeter TIF Fund to be credited to the accounts as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 303, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the Record Preservation Fund budget for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart the sum of $980,732 from the unappropriated balance of the Record Preservation Fund to be credited to the accounts as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 304, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the Police Air Support Program budget for fiscal year 2019 and appropriating and setting apart the sum of $700,000 from the unappropriated balance of the Police Air Support Program Fund to be credited to the accounts as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 305, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the Emergency Communications Fund budget for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Emergency Communications Fund the sum of $18,579,103 to be credited to the account as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 306, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the County Sheriff Revolving Fund fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the County Sheriff Revolving Fund the sum of $215,440 to be credited to the account as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 307, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the North Point Forest Subdivision NID Fund budget for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart the sum of $35,540 from the unappropriated balance of the North Point Forest Subdivision NID Fund to be credited to the accounts as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 308, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the Residential Energy Loan Program Fund budget for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart the sum of $207,738 from the unappropriated balance of the Residential Energy Loan Program Fund to be credited to the accounts as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 309, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the Children's Service Fund budget for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Children's Service Fund the sum of $53,075,562 to be credited to the accounts as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 310, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the Cable TV Government Access Fund budget for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart the sum of $20,000 from the unappropriated balance of the Cable TV Government Access Fund to be credited to the accounts as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 311, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the Convention and Recreation Trust Fund budget for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart the sum of $10,051,424 from the unappropriated balance of the Convention and Recreation Trust Fund to be credited to the accounts as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 312, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the Water Service Line Fund budget for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Water Service Line Fund the sum of $4,399,893 to be placed to the credit of the accounts as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 313, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the Solid Waste Management Fund budget for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Solid Waste Management Fund the sum of $2,003,000 to be credited to the accounts as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 314, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Debt Service Fund the sum of $7,725,632 for payment of interest, fees, and principal for maturity retirement of the public improvement bonds of St. Louis County, Missouri for the fiscal year 2019. Bill number 315, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the Spirit of St. Louis Airport Enterprise Fund budget for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Spirit of St. Louis Airport Enterprise Fund the sum of $29,794,616 to be placed to the credit of the accounts as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 316, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the Transportation Trust Fund budget for fiscal year 2019, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Transportation Trust Fund the sum of $255,000 to be credited to the accounts as provided in the budget for fiscal year 2019. Bill number 317, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving and adopting the Highway Capital Construction Program budget for fiscal year 2019 in the amount of $44,268,800, appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Transportation Highway Fund the sum of $15,922,300, and further appropriating and setting apart out of the unappropriated balance of the Federal Aid Urban Trust Fund the sum of $28,346,500 for support of the 2019 capital construction programs. Bill number 318, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance establishing tax rates to be levied on all real and tangible personal property in St. Louis County and on all other taxable property in St. Louis County for the General Fund, Special Road and Bridge Fund, Health Fund, Park Maintenance Fund, and the Debt Service Fund for the fiscal year 2019. The tax rates hereby established shall be permanent and shall continue in effect until superseded by a tax levy ordinance passed at such time as provided by law or reduced as necessary to comply with state law. Bill number 319, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance providing for a boundary adjustment between the City of Creveport and St. Louis County and authorizing certain actions to be taken with regard to such adjustment. Bill number 320, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance authorizing the County Councilor to execute a contract with Thompson Coburn LLP for bond counsel services for county's 2019-2020 cash flow special obligation notes issuance. Bill number 321, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance amending ordinance number 27,216 by repealing and reenacting Section 2 pertaining to a grant from the Missouri Department of Economic Development, Division of Workforce Development for Summer Job Leagues Program. Bill number 322, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with the Salvation Army for operation of a warming shelter. Bill number 323, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a memorandum of agreement with the City of St. Louis and the St. Louis Development Corporation for certification services for the St. Louis County Minority and Women-Owned Business Enterprise Program. Mr. Chair, that is all of those.
Perfection of bills.
Bill number 191, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray.
Please hold on the other business.
Bill 191 is held.
Bill number 202, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move to hold Bill number 202, and Bill 202 is held.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 208, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray.
Please hold on the order of business.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 28 is held.
Bill number 256, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move to hold Bill 256, and Bill 256 will be held.
Bill number 258, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray.
Please hold.
Bill number 256 will be held. 258, thank you.
Bill number 269, introduced by Councilmember Erby.
I move for perfection of Bill 269.
Second.
All in favor of perfection, Bill number 269?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 269 is perfected.
Bill number 270, introduced by Councilmember Wassinger for Councilmember Tracus.
Please hold Bill number 270.
Bill number 270 will be held.
Bill number 290, introduced by Councilmember Harder.
I move to perfect Bill number 290.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 290 is perfected.
Bill number 291, introduced by Councilmember Harder.
I move to perfect Bill number 291.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 291 is perfected.
Bill number 292, introduced by Councilmember Dolan.
I move to perfect Bill number 292.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 292 is perfected.
Bill number 293, introduced by Councilmembers Tracus and Harder.
Move to perfect Bill number 293.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 293 is perfected.
Bill number 294, introduced by Councilmember Page.
This bill establishes outside counsel for service to the Ethics Committee. I move to perfect Bill number 294.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Bill number 294 is perfected. Final passage.
Bill number 353, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move to hold Bill number 353, and 353 will be held.
Substitute Bill number 2 for Bill number 249, introduced by Councilmember Harder for Councilmember Tracus.
I move for final passage of substitute Bill number 2 for Bill number 249.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on substitute Bill number 2 for Bill number 249, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Substitute Bill number 2 for Bill number 249 is finally passed.
Bill number 271, introduced by Councilmember Page. Mr. Chair, we have a substitute bill.
Move to hold Bill number 271, and 271 will be held.
Bill number 272, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for final passage of Bill number 272.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page? Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on Bill number 272, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 272 is finally passed.
Bill number 273, introduced by Councilmember Harder.
I move for final passage of Bill number 273.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on Bill number 273, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 273 is finally passed.
Bill number 274, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for a final passage of Bill number 274.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on Bill number 274, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 274 is finally passed.
Bill number 275, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for final passage of Bill number 275.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on Bill number 275, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 275 is finally passed.
Bill number 276, introduced by Councilmember Dolan.
Move for final passage of bill number 276.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, bill number 276, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 276 is finally passed.
Bill number 277, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for final passage of bill number 277.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, bill number 277, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 277 is finally passed.
Bill number 278, introduced by Councilmember Wassinger for Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of bill number 278, please.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, bill number 278, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 278 is finally passed.
Bill number 279, introduced by Councilmember Wassinger.
I move for final passage of Bill 279.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Abstain.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, bill number 279, there are 5 ayes, 1 absent, and 1 abstaining.
Bill number 279 is finally passed.
Bill number 280, introduced by Councilmember Wassinger for Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of bill number 280, please.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, bill number 280, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 280 is finally passed.
Bill number 281, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for final passage of bill number 281.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on bill number 281, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 281 is finally passed.
Bill number 282, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for final passage of bill number 282.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on bill number 282, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 282 is finally passed.
Bill number 283, introduced by Councilmember Harder.
I move for final passage of bill number 283.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on bill number 283, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 283 is finally passed.
Bill number 284, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for final passage of bill number 284.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on bill number 284, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 284 is finally passed.
Bill number 285, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for final passage of bill number 285.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on bill number 285, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 285 is finally passed.
Bill number 286, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for final passage of bill number 286.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on bill number 286, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 286 is finally passed.
Bill number 287, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for final passage of bill number 287.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on bill number 287, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 287 is finally passed.
Bill number 288, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for final passage of bill number 288.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on bill number 288, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 288 is finally passed.
Bill number 289, introduced by Councilmembers Page, Walton Gray, and Wassinger for Councilmembers Tracus and Harder.
Move for final passage of bill number 289.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Wassinger?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on bill number 289, there are 6 ayes and 1 absent.
Bill number 289 is finally passed. Resolutions.
We have no resolutions on the agenda this evening, Mr. Chair.
Unfinished business.
Item number 1, Third District.
Hold on the order of business, please.
So ordered.
Item number 2, First District.
Hold on the order of business, please.
So ordered.
Item number 3, Fifth District.
I guess we'll still hold that. We're gonna have a.
So ordered. I'd like to get a hearing on this arranged after our budget hearings are done. We'll continue to work on that and hopefully get it done by the end of the year. So ordered.
Is there a motion? I'm sorry.
That's sorry, hold on the order of business. Please hold.
Item number 4, First District.
Hold on the order of business.
So ordered.
Moving on to new business, Mr. Chair, we have 3 prepared orders this evening.
3. Oh, I only saw one.
The other one I saw.
I only saw one, too.
There were 3 in the packet. One amending a contract.
Need one?
Is the first one the contract with the RR, whatever, realtors?
No, it's amending the contract for, services, legal services for the county assessor.
Oh, yeah, this is for the assessor.
Oh, okay. I move for adoption of order number 1.
Second.
Yeah, second.
All in favor of adoption order number 1?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. These are okay. It's,
That's the third one.
this is property inspection.
I move for adoption of order number 2.
Second.
All in favor of adoption order number 2? Say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? Motion carries. Order number 2 is adopted.
And please hold on, order number 3.
So ordered. Any other comments by council members before we adjourn? Councilwoman Wassinger?
Mr. Chair, I would like to, I don't know if the chief is here, but I want to say publicly thank you to the police department and the chief for their quick action in resolving the crime that was committed in at the Catholic Supply Store this past week. I think our community as a whole is very grateful that they were able to solve that so quickly. It was a heinous crime, and I am very thankful for your work. So I'll say that publicly.
And the chief heard.
Oh, there he is.
Absolutely. That was very impressive work. Councilman Harder?
I guess my comment, I've got 2, and I'll hold the other one till after the budget meeting, which is next. But I guess tonight's meeting, listening to the comments about the volunteers from the animal shelter disturbs me, because I think we had a problem there, and we thought we could clean that up, and to have it announced that there was 100 animals that were euthanized is disturbing. And I would like, my assistant, I've asked him, Chris Howard, to look into those claims and to kind of look at the time frame of those claims and maybe report back to the council what's going on there. And we got the right, make sure we got the right people in the right place in that organization. So, we've had problems there in the past. I thought we cleaned them up, and it sounds like they're back tenfold. So, I hope that we can look into that and pay attention to that. So.
Yes.
I agree with Councilman Harder. That was disheartening to hear that after we went through so much and thought we had cleaned it up, and then we find out that there's still a problem. It sounds like it might even be greater. So yeah, I agree with you on that. But also, when I said that the budget was a mess, I want to apologize for that and phrase it another way. When I say a mess, I mean we've had difficulty dealing with it and trying to figure out a way to get the raises, and so it's been and I call it a mess because it's difficult. We can't find the money, and but we haven't given up. I don't think, have we, guys? We haven't given up. So.
I think the terminology for the budget, as it's been described to us, is that it's structurally unbalanced, especially in the general fund, which is most of county operations. And, the county council's job is to appropriate and to set appropriation boundaries. The authority of the executive branch is to spend. And we've got a dynamic that we need to navigate and get around this structural imbalance because we're headed in the wrong direction. And the council has a lot of work ahead of them in the next couple of weeks and the next year to figure this out.
Can I add to that? And again, I said a mess, but it just seems that, and I'm just being honest here, we're not giving the information that we need and the cooperation that we need. And I will say that publicly and openly, and I don't apologize for that. We're just not getting what we need to make a good decision and try to figure out how to grant raises. Because I think what we heard here tonight from the employees, the salaries, and from the sheriff, people who are sheriffs and handling situations, to hear those salary quotes is just embarrassing. I mean, it's sad to know that our employees, a lot of them, are barely making minimum wage. So we have to do something, but we need the cooperation of the administration, and we really aren't getting that like we should. And I don't apologize for saying that because it's the truth.
Councilman Tracus.
Mr. Chair, I just want to agree with your statement that we have been presented with a structurally unbalanced budget by the county executive. And I think every member, I think I can safely speak for every member of this body, that we all look forward to receiving a plan from the county executive on how to address the imbalance in this budget so that cuts in programs and services can be kept to a minimum and or increases in taxes can be foregone or kept to a minimum. But I think at least I can speak for myself to tell you that before I consider and talk about increasing your taxes, I'm going to have to know definitively that we've made every effort to look at the entire budget and make sure that we've saved taxpayers every cent we can. And then and only then would I even begin a dialogue about tax increases. And that's going to take time. I would reiterate what Councilwoman Irby said, that we heard the employees. We want to help you. This is going to take some time, 90 days, perhaps 180 days, before we can actually go through program by program and determine what is needed and what isn't, what is essential and what isn't. And that has to be done now so that we're not presented a year from now with a sky is falling argument and a demand that taxes be raised. So I think it's fair to get that out in the public. The taxpayers and residents of St. Louis County, north, south, east, and west, need to know that. and they need to be heard about it. Thank you.
I'm going to just make a brief comment on that. Yes, I'll speak for myself. I would never speak for the entire council. I don't think anybody on the council should, but every year since I've been here, they're presented a budget by every administration I've been here with, and the numbers are the numbers. It's not like they're making them up or holding numbers from anybody or hiding anything. It's as transparent as can be. Of course, I think everybody deserves a raise. I'd love to see it, but we have to find the numbers to do it. But, I don't think there's been any deceit or anything on the administration's part. I mean, they can't create numbers that aren't there. So we just have to deal with it, and I know everybody's trying to do that. But it's a little disingenuous to say that it's all the administration's fault for these numbers. The numbers are there because that's the fiscal matter we're in. And I think there's a genuine concern on everybody's part, the administration, and I'll speak for myself again on my part as well, to make sure that we can do whatever we can to get raises, but you can only do with what you have. So hopefully we can change that in the future. And I know Lisa Clancy's here. She's going to try to do that, taking my place, and I'm sure everybody around here is going to do what they can, but it is what it is for right now.
Councilman Harder.
Well, since Councilwoman Irby withdrew her mess statement, I will re-enter it into the record. It is a mess. And it's such that it didn't happen overnight, that we've kicked the can for probably at least 10 years. I've been on for 4 years. We're at the end of the alley. We can't kick the can anymore. And to have a double whammy of running out of money and then having our employees asking for a raise, the two are incongruent. So we're going to do what we can to get this budget balanced and not balanced on the reserves like it's been over the last many years because we're out of reserves. So unfortunately, we can't print money like the federal government. We can't borrow money to pay for our debt in this regard. So we're going to have to make some hard decisions, and we may be passing a very tight budget of cuts. We haven't decided yet. But what I will say is we need cooperation from the ninth floor. They've got 26 people up there working in that department that would be greatly helpful. I've reached out to them, haven't heard from them. I hope to hear from them soon on what their plan is, because we're all in the same boat. We're not in two boats. So we need their plan, and we're working on ours, and we can start working on a solution that hopefully it will save the county from the standpoint financially. It'd be nice to give a raise, but we hope we don't have to cut jobs at the same time. So we got a lot of decisions, and we don't know if we'll have them all done by the end of December when we're supposed to pass the budget, but it will be an ongoing discussion, at least for the next year, on all these issues, because like I said, we didn't get here overnight, and we're not going to pull out of this overnight. So I just stay in touch and stay patient, and we're going to try to right this ship.
Well, I would like to recognize that I think in the last budget cycle, information was withheld, and in some cases rather enthusiastically, in some cases with some remorse. I think the door has been cracked open a little bit this year. I think some of the answers we're getting are, a little more forthright, but we're not there yet. We're not getting enough information to make good decisions, and we need to get there. We need to get there so we can have a reasonable conversation about selective cuts instead of across the board, and we need help to do that.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I will reconvene here in 60 seconds. Call the meeting to order. This is a public hearing on the proposed budget for 2019. Roll call.
Councilmember Erby? Here. Councilmember Page?
Here.
Councilmember Wassinger? Here. Councilmember Gray? Councilmember Dolan?
Here.
Councilmember Tracus?
President.
Councilmember Harder?
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
So in accordance with Article 8, Section 8.030 of the St. Louis County Charter, the council is required to hold a public hearing to receive comments from all interested parties who wish to speak on the recommended 2019 fiscal year budget for St. Louis County.
We have
Speakers
one-
list.
One speaker signed up, Mr. Chair, that is Tom Sullivan.
Okay.
Pulling double duty tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Hi, Tom.
I have some comments on the proposed 2019 St. Louis County budget. I think too many times the council does not look at the larger picture. St. Louis County has been losing a considerable number of people, jobs, and revenue in recent years, but that does not seem to be taken into account. In the last decade alone, the county lost 88,000 jobs. When I first read that, I thought it was a typo. The county also is in a competition for residents, but neither is that ever considered. Earlier this year, preliminary census results were listed for the 14 counties in the St. Louis region, plus the city of St. Louis. The city was on the bottom with the most population loss. St. Louis County was second worst. When residents go, they take revenue with them. St. Louis County has been experiencing many of the same problems as the city in recent times, but little has been done to address them. In 2001, the county put Proposition CC for a community comeback on the ballot. It would only have reinstituted the use tax paid almost entirely by businesses to address the problems of deteriorating neighborhoods and businesses leaving the county. Writing in support of this proposal, this is what County Executive Buzz Westfall and Councilman Kurt Oldenwald wrote in the Post-Dispatch. Like the city decades ago, we are starting to see problems associated with older neighborhoods. You don't have to look far to see rundown areas, disinvestment, abandoned industrial buildings, vacant strip malls, and dying downtowns. They aren't just a St. Louis problem. They're a St. Louis County problem as well. Are we to learn from the history we have witnessed with the city, or merely sit idly by so we may inherit a similar fate? Voters rejected the proposal. 2 years later, the council approved a bond issue for the Cardinals' new stadium at a cost of $110 million. This is money that could have and should have gone to build up St. Louis County. This was in addition to the $180 million going to the Dome that was supposed to pay for itself and provide millions of dollars of revenue for local government. Of course, it never did. And let's not forget the Cross-County Metrolink extension, a $1.1 billion boondoggle that includes $300 million in cost overruns. About 80% of the cost is paid by county taxpayers. It's now many years after Proposition CC, and the county has been following the city's model. St. Louis County even has school districts whose test scores are worse than city schools. And this council continues to make bad decisions, such as supporting a zoo tax that provides an unneeded 100% increase in tax revenue from county taxpayers. When it comes to the 2019 budget, the question for the council is whether to continue with business as usual, which means a continuing decline of St. Louis County, or think about new ways of doing business. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Tom.
No more speakers, Mr. Chair.
Any comments from any council members? Okay, is there a motion? Oh, Councilman Tracus.
He's right. Plain and simple. He's right. And it's time to do something. So, I already went on earlier, so I'm not going to reiterate what I've said before, but we've got our work cut out for us.
Councilman Harder.
Just for those, I mean, we've been pretty tied up with this budget for months now and for some years. And maybe some of the employees that are left, I wish there was more here, that would fully understand that, we've been, like I said before, kicking the can down the street, and we're out of street right now. So we've got some hard decisions to make, and I don't know, we've been told, as long as I've been on the council now 4 years, that this day of reckoning would happen around 2020. And it's right on time. And so we're looking right at this year, next year, as being a year where we're going to have to decide what is the role of St. Louis County government for the next 20 years, and how we're going to pay for it, or not. And so we've got some hard decisions to make that haven't been made in the past through multiple administrations. So I hope we can come to some glide path to make the landing a little bit smoother, but there's going to be a hard landing. And we've just got to work together. And if the employees were here, and some are still, we need your help too. You guys see your department every day and know maybe where there's places where we can save some money, where we can increase some revenue, whatever. But we have to balance both sides of the equation, and we need your help. And feel free to contact anyone up here to give us your input, because we're getting it, some of it, like we said, but it's very guarded, and we need very constructive input. And the job you save may be your own. So let's hopefully we can all work together on that.
I can say this, that I don't see us, we normally vote to pass the budget or not pass it or whatever by the end of December. I just don't see that happening. I'm not prepared to vote for the budget right now as it stands. So I for one, am not in agreement with the budget as it is now, because there are things that I don't see, or I see that don't need to be there. And the staff that's the county executive staff, all of those positions, for example, there's policy advisors. 6 policy advisors or whatever. How many does the President of the United States have? I don't get it. I don't see it. Most of those jobs are 6-figure salaries. How do you make that kind of money in a government run where we have people making $26,000 a year? That doesn't make any sense to me. If we have to cut some salaries at the top or something, personally, if I was at the top making 6 figures, I think I'd offer up some of my salary before I saw the employees working for nothing. And then to say that if we give a raise, it's 3% and it's merit, give me a break. You haven't had a raise in how many years? And then we're going to talk about giving somebody, it came up in the budget meeting earlier today, perhaps a 1% raise based on merit. That's ridiculous. That's an insult. If an employee has lasted all these years on the job and hasn't been fired, they should get a raise, because if they were not good employees, they would have been fired. So and again, I keep saying this, the last raise we gave was supposed to be a merit increase, and I refused to sign off on the budget until everybody got it across the board. And that's what we did, because you can't explain that how do you explain to an employee after 10 years of no raise, you get a 1% raise? That's an insult.
Councilman Tracus.
I just want to, in response to Councilwoman Irby's statement, I, for two, am not prepared to pass a budget at this point in time. So if that means we operate on a continuing resolution, then that's what it means. But this matter has to be addressed. There's no ignoring it anymore. And like I said, we have our work cut out for us. I suspect it's going to take some time. I would hope that the employees that are appearing week after week have patience. I hope they know that we're doing the best we can to make the best decisions we can.
Councilman Wassinger.
I think I would just close out by saying we are in the situation that we have to right-size our government. We have to live within our means and find a way to do that productively and without hurting people. And it's a tough job. Some tough decisions that have to be made.
Okay, any other comments?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.